Hey everyone, welcome to Real Knowledge Club Longevity Summit. Today we have a truly a fascinating guest, thought leader in longevity space, biohacking space. I'm excited to introduce you to the woman who is into the field for like over last 5 to 10 years, over a decade. Imagine about the possibility of like living to like 100, 150 and like 200 years. I'm bringing some of the biggest names in the biohacking industry, like the top 0.01%, so that you guys can know exactly what to do, what not to do, how you can live long, what food to eat, everything, right? We are bringing who is none other than like Inka Land, who is also the wife of Simland. You guys must have seen like last couple of days back, I brought like Simland, who is the world's slowest aging man. And today we have Inka. Inka is all about longevity. She has done her degree in like psychology. She's a TEDx speaker, and I actually got a chance to meet her at Evo Clinic in like Chennai last month. It was truly incredible. Inka is a perfect mentor to guide you through exactly what to go about, how you can have it transformate you, health and everything. Without any further delay, I'm excited to welcome Inka from my bottom of my heart to the Real Knowledge Club Longevity Summit.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Inka, for firstly for taking your super valuable time coming all the way from Estonia to like summit over here in India.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm so curious to know about your journey, right? Like, how did you get into like this longevity biohacking? Your backstory.
Right. So I think a lot of it came through professional interest. So I have a master's of neuropsychology. I have a postgraduate diploma in nutrition and disease, and I have done various like professional certifications, like in nutrigenomics, nutrigenetics, and pharmacogenetics, and psychology diplomas in CBT, ACT, and just like out of I don't know, interest for the capabilities of how can we improve ourselves as humans and live the life to the fullest as long as possible. As well, I had my own health journey and story behind, so I'm almost feeling that this life that I'm living right now, it's a very different life that I was living when I was younger, and that was because I was suffering from multiple chronic conditions, mainly chronic migraines and brainstem migraines and cluster headaches and autoimmunity. And so I had to start very early to sort of optimize and improve my own health. And by reading just so much science, I realized there are tools out there that almost no one knows about, but they are in the scientific literature, so we can all go and see them and find the truth ourselves. So that's how I started, and this is where it got me. I'm super excited being in this journey of longevity and anti-aging and just overall health and well-being.
Absolutely, that's amazing. I see that so much of passion because you faced that problem and now you want to fix that. And I would also like to know, right, like how did you find your calling? Like this is what you need to do, right? Like longevity, biohacking. And how did you meet like Simlan, the world's slowest aging man?
Right. So I think I found my calling. Well, I was studying psychology, right,
Okay.
at the University of Aberdeen in Scotland, and I was always very fascinated about the brain health. So my minor was sports science, so it was a lot about physiology, and then I took courses in medical school as well. And I always thought when I was in high school I want to study psychology because I felt like the human mind is the key for almost anything, any transformation that you want to do in the life. But then I realized when I was studying psychology that this it's missing a big piece, which is the physical health and the connection between the body and mind. So body mind connection basically, and that we need to go into the brain and understand the brain and study its connections to the body and study our body homeostasis to truly transform the brain and have that neuroplasticity and have that longevity capacity. Um, so it just all was very fascinating journey for me. I don't think I never had to thought about it, like what I want to do. It's more like things come to my life, like the concept of longevity. I started seeing it everywhere, and I started realizing it's very fascinating because it totally reverses the disease ideology that we have in the conventional medical field, which is just repairing damage. But with this approach, we can proactively prevent the damage in the first place. So that's how I sort of got into this space. The biohacking came naturally because I was trying to optimize my health and get rid of from my health conditions. So I just tried like probably hundreds of different, tools and supplements and interventions and whatnot. I tried it all. And so I found the ones that work for me, which I'm very happy. So I'm in a remission for almost 10 years from my conditions. And Seem we met through the profession, not surprisingly. Seem was doing collaboration with a company that I was working in at the time when I was a student. We met in events all the time, and then we became friends first. We knew each other for, I think, 5 years, and then
Wow.
we got together after that. So we knew each other for a long time before we actually even started dating.
Absolutely, that's amazing because of the similar interest and passion. You were also into like biohacking, longevity, and Sim also was attending the events. You also both are like-minded. Amazing. And Inka, for all the people who are watching from India, maybe not everybody understands what is biohacking. Can you tell us what exactly is like biohacking all about?
Yeah, so there is can be a multiple definitions for biohacking. I think the easiest way to understand it is that if you have a symptom, let's say it's a brain fog or fatigue or whatnot, you try to find out its root cause from your body by doing different tests, for example. And then you do an intervention. So it's like N equals one experiment. So you're the test experiment and you're the conductor of the experiment. So let's say I have sleep issues. I can't fall asleep fast in the evening as fast as I would like to. So I can, for example, start wearing blue light blockers, and for the next few weeks, I will see if that sleep onset latency decreases gradually because I'm wearing the blue light blockers. And if it worked, it's it's biohacking. So why is it biohacking? The word itself is almost like a commercial word, but the idea behind it is very empowering. So it just means that you understand your biological system, you do an intervention, and you see if that system changes towards homeostasis where you feel the optimal health. It can be a supplement, it can be an exercise program. And some people even try to enhance so let's say they don't have any symptom, but they want to find, I don't know, a peak flow of performance. So you can try different tools that can help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. It's all about like hacking our body and trying to understand what's happening in our body and fixing the root cause, right? Love that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, like being this, having like a self awareness, health awareness, and this self efficacy that I can affect to what's happening inside my body.
right, right, yes. And I have seen like a lot of people tell this like longevity is all about like for like billionaires like Jeff Bezos, Naveen Jain, or like the Google founders, the CEO, right? What is longevity all about, and what are its core pillars? And is it like needed for like everyone on this planet, all the 8 billion people, or like only the top 1% of the world have to focus on this?
Anyone and everyone can focus on it, and I think longevity can be thought as one way to enhance your health and well-being. When you start focusing on longevity, you start thinking differently. What I think are the core pillars of longevity. So technically, maybe let's rewind a bit and think about what does it actually mean. So longevity can have two aspects. We can have extending the years that you're alive, which is extending lifespan. But then we have can have extending the years that you are staying healthy, which is extending health span. So an average person in America spends about 20 years of their lives in a bad health. So they have a long lifespan, but they have a shorter health span. So the goal sort of would be to live in a good health until hopefully your very last day, but maybe very last years. And then we usually die from some sort of disease. So then die from a disease rapidly. And it sounds like a bit brutal when you put it this way, but it's quite hopeful because it means that you are not suffering for the last 10 or 20 years of your lives. And usually, what causes that is things like lifestyle mediated diseases like diabetes, brain aging, obesity, and things like that, cancer. So that degrades our life quality, which leads us to this more slower path of death, unfortunately. So if we can extend the lifespan, which is, I think, what most people should focus on before focusing on extending the years in the life, um, then you will have a better high quality for life quality for longer. And then actually, when you do this, automatically you most likely cause some significant changes in your lifespan as well. So I would
Absolutely.
say three different ways to achieve this. First, step one, mindset. Get that like idea imprinted in your head that in every year, this is what I think, in every year, I'm becoming healthier. So this is totally flipped from what we conventionally are led to believe, which is every year you're aging and your health is degrading.
Yes.
And then is education. So be curious about the research and what's out there, what tools are out there, and just read, get interested in the topic. And then the third one is to start actually using the lifestyle tools that have shown to have a great impact on health and well-being.
Correct. Absolutely. Love that. Having that right mindset and always being curious, right? Read as many books about like longevity, about biohacking, what food to eat, and everything. And that's how we can tend to live longer. And Inka, my question to you is like, what's how your dream? Like, how many years do you want to live?
Yeah, I guess the dream is to live as long as possible. I'm not stressing too much about achieving a certain goal. I am curiously monitoring the space and thinking about the possibilities. So, the oldest verified person today is a French woman, or was a French woman, Jeanne Calment, and she lived up to 122 years.
Wow.
So I guess outliving that 122 would be quite cool. But I hope I'd much rather have a longer health span with shorter lifespan than vice versa, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. Having that possibility, right? Like thinking big and making taking care of our health from now onwards so that like we live longer. And
Mm.
what is basically the difference, right? Like between the general medical approach versus like longevity approach. People there like so many doctors also they also go they also tell you have to eat this medicine, you have to do this exercise, this and that, right? And the longevity and biohacking approach, what exactly?
Yeah, so if we think about the medical system, it usually works in a way that you have an illness or a disease, and you go see a doctor who will look at that condition in separation. And usually, medicine works with medications most often. Lifestyle approaches are and should be a big part of it, but unfortunately, the reality might be a little bit different. So, medications are still the sort of prevalent way of treating illnesses. So, I guess the main components or main differences is that number one, it is focused on damage repair. So people who go to doctor are usually already sick. And if they're not sick and you go to see a doctor and you say like I don't have any symptoms but I want to improve my health, the doctor usually don't have much to give at that point because they are like treating, the appointments are meant to treating illness. But they also can do some lab tests. Sometimes, at least here in Europe, you need to have a medical reason to prescribe certain lab tests. So it might be that you cannot do those in a standard medical care just because you want, because you're curious. Um, then the second main difference is that there is usually a medication recommendation, at least here in Europe. Again, you are not legally, allowed to recommend certain supplements or certain, well, especially supplements if they are not in the medical standard of care protocol. So I guess that you will like end up into a situation where you don't necessarily get the information on all of the tools. Now, there are many doctors out there as well who are educated in functional medicine and root cause healing. So those doctors usually know about the supplements and lifestyle modifications. It really depends on the doctor's own interest and education. Have they, after medical school, been interested in looking into the lifestyle ways and certain alternative treatment methods as well? Or do they rely mostly on their medical education? And I know this because I worked in a healthcare, and the same goes on with psychology a lot and neuropsychology, that there are these ways that we can use natural tools, but they are not necessarily taught in the school per se. So you need to have that own proactive interest of digging into these details. And then the biohacking approach is that you may not have clinically relevant symptoms at the time, but you start testing your body. And let's say in Ivo Clinic, when we were in Chennai, India, we
Yes.
did a 180 blood panel. And last year, when I did that, I found out that I had iron deficiency and a folate deficiency. So I just had a little bit of fatigue, and I thought that was a stress. I didn't, if I went to a doctor at that point, they probably wouldn't say much because it wasn't clinically that significant. But for my baseline, it was noticeable. So I found out that iron deficiency, and I came back home and I started optimizing my iron levels with basically eating a bit more meat. And that solved the issue. This time I got my iron levels checked and they were all normal. So it's just taking control and ownership of your own health, the biohacking longevity approach.
Absolutely. Love that. Prevention is like better than cure, right? Even before any disease has been attacked, always being aware, right? And always being curious, right? And this is what can help us live long. And I love that approach. And next question is like, what are the most important components and secrets to live if someone wants to live long, right? Like for even 100, 150, 200 years, what they have to focus on? Is it like the muscle strength? I was watching another podcast, Shiva Shankaran sir, right? Like the Evo Clinic founder. He was telling it is so important, like the muscle, VO2, all those things. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the most important component starts from understanding your risk factors. So genetics play a little part, but they still do play a part in your risk for disease, lifestyle mediated disease. So, for example, I know that in my family there has been cancer cases. Therefore, I'm looking proactively into the ways of preventing cancer with my lifestyle. Similarly, if there is like a heart disease risk, if there is diabetes risk, you need to know about what might be in your genes that may pose you at the risk of getting a disease and then dying early, prematurely. The second thing is, of course, the lifestyle. Inflammation has gained quite a lot of good rep recently in this space. Inflammation is not like inherently bad. We need inflammation for repair processes, but the current lifestyle and the current modern world poses us at risk for a lot of more inflammation and oxidative stress as our cells are sometimes able to deal with. So therefore, there is a lot of people with chronic low-grade inflammation. So just focusing on stress management, exercise, sleep is immensely important for recovery. And then anti-inflammatory, well, I don't like the word anti-inflammatory lifestyle. It's more about natural living. So trying to mindfully think about avoidance of toxins that are not necessary to, for example, put in our bodies through foods. So artificial foods, ultra-processed foods can cause significant stress into our cells. Sugar can be actually in high amounts toxic to our cells, and things like mold may be an issue for some people. So lowering that load that your body carries every day so that you can recover faster and repair and regenerate yourself faster. And if you do that, you will gain more muscle when you exercise, for example, because you have optimized the recovery process. Muscle is absolutely very important, as you said. And then optimizing metabolism in general. So supporting the mitochondria in our cells with things like exercise, sleep, different supplements can also help, and diet.
Absolutely. Love that. Having the right nutrients, having the right sleep, taking the right diet, and like having the right lifestyle, doing the right exercise can help us out, right? Do you recommend how many steps should one person walk? Is it like 10,000 steps, right? Or like 15,000 steps? And like, what is the tools like you will recommend to wear, like Oura Ring or something, or like how can we track all these things?
Yeah, with the steps, so there is the general mantra that 10,000 steps. Um, Extended lifespan benefits can be up to 16,000 steps. However, it's between 8,000 and 16,000. The lifespan benefit is only 5% more. So then if it like starts to take your time or causing stress, of course, some people who really, really want to live up to 150, then aim for that 16,000. If you want to stay healthy and fit, then from 8 to 10,000 should be sufficient. I walk most of the days, I would say like around 12,000 steps because I have a walking treadmill under my
Okay.
work desk. And this is one of the best things that I've ever done to my health because most people have to work most of the day in this society. And that means we spend quite a lot of time sitting still. And when we are sitting, we're not moving our bodies. It's just not good. The sedentary lifestyle is one of the biggest factors for risk of any disease out there almost. So getting the movement, if you're not able to just go out to walks many times a day, then walking treadmill while you're working will solve that problem. So I love it, and I've noticed significantly less back pain and aches, and just more. I would say it's more relaxing than sitting for a long periods of time, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then about the health gadgets. So health tracking is very informative. It's one of the biggest motivators for change. In our clinic, we had a few people who told us that they did know before that something is wrong, or like they need to lose weight and they need to eat a bit healthier. But then when they got the booklet with their labs in their hand and they saw what's going on inside the body, and that really drove the point home. And that was their epiphany that, okay, now I'm really going to start making changes. And so that's why I love tracking. It's self-awareness, motivation. It's fascinating. It's good. It's like fun to track the things a long time. So I would say Aura or Ultrahuman or some sort of sleep tracking device is good, because sleep has such an important value for our longevity. And you can see if you are lacking REM, if you are lacking deep sleep, if you are waking up during the night a lot. One interesting thing, a story is what was my mother, who was, she always thought that, oh, her probably circadian rhythm is around from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. That's how she slept. She was so tired at 8 p.m. She woke up 4 a.m., couldn't sleep. And she was like, oh, maybe my body is just wired like this. And I was like, this doesn't sound normal because you're so fatigued in the evening and you're so fatigued during the day. So we need to start tracking. So we got her an Aura, and I was noticing that she didn't get REM sleep almost at all. That happens at the later stage of the night. First, we get the deep sleep, then we get the REM sleep. If you don't get your REM sleep, you're going to be emotionally exhausted the next day. You're going to be more stressed, because that's the one important part when our emotional system sort of calms down during the night. So I told her that try to like stretch your bedtime until 10-11 p.m. and see what happens. And she was tired, she kept herself awake, and gradually her body started adjusting to that period. And she started noticing significant increases. It went from like 7 to 20 minutes. Her REM went up to 1.5 hours or 1 hour, 15 minutes. So that was like 2-3 times increase in REM sleep. So, okay, so here we got into the point where we could clearly see that she was having her 8 hours, which is like the scientifically beneficial dose. But inside her dream, the dream quality or the sleep quality was not optimal for her health and well-being. And that's why I love sleep trackers. Most sleep trackers also give you your HRV, heart rate variability, which is now one of the best established markers for monitoring your nervous system recovery. So you can see, for example, with the Aura Ring, I have seen a few days before when I get sick, because the HRV starts to look weird, but I'm not having any new stress. My lifestyle is the same. So I keep thinking, why is my HRV so low? And then a couple of days later, I get a flu or something. And that's one of the best things as well here. So that one, I think tracking steps, if you are not walking a lot, is good. I think Apple Watch is nice. You can monitor your workouts, you can monitor your HRV. I never thought like it could be that useful, but when I got the Apple Watch, I was actually very pleased for all of the data that I'm able to get. And then one thing, women specific thing, I think the tracking the menstrual cycle, that explains a lot for women on why they might get mood symptoms at one point, or fatigue, or changes in body temperature. So many women may get worried about certain dips in energy levels, but when you realize that that's just before your period, it eases the mental distress on that variable. So those are what I test, like the gadgets that I have at home. And then besides those, the lab testing is probably twice a year, is probably the best way to quantify your most important biomarkers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love that. And my a follow-up question to that, like how many hours should we sleep in a day? I have seen like the world's top sleep experts on his TEDx talk, he's talking about 8 hours sleep. Whereas when I was having a conversation with the billionaire Naveen Jain, whom you must have seen at the Mind Valley Summit also, he was
Mm-hmm.
telling he just sleeps like 6.5 hours, right? Like proper, or he was telling like I'm getting the proper REM sleep, deep sleep, light sleep. What is your take on it? Like how many hours should we sleep? And nowadays people stay in the cities, right? They're not able to sleep by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Some are sleeping at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, waking up at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, right? 10 a.m. What do you recommend and what exactly should be our sleep routine?
So first, it's important to know your circadian rhythm and start sleeping according to that. So if you can get a natural light environment somehow with avoiding artificial lights in the evening and not using uh, alarm when you wake up, your body will start adjusting and finding your natural rhythm. It is true that some people sleep less. It is true that some people sleep more. Um, Scientifically, it's shown that between 7 to 8 hours of sleep seems to be the most optimal dose for health. But if you're sick, you will be sleeping more. If you're stressed, you will probably be sleeping. Well, you might be sleeping less because you're stressed, but you should probably be sleeping a little bit more. One of the most important things that are not talked much is that the sleep rhythm is actually extremely important, that you keep the same rhythm. And this seems to be, for example, important for dopamine, for daytime neurotransmitters, and energy levels. And getting the amount of like 1 to 1.5 hours of REM sleep is good. Approximately like 1.5 to 2 hours of deep sleep is good. And then the light sleep is there in between. I wouldn't like stress too much about it, but just to make sure, because many people notice that when they start tracking their sleep, they will see that they are getting like 10 minutes or 15 minutes of REM sleep. So that might indicate that you are waking up too early, for example. And or you get too little deep sleep, which means that you are too stimulated when you go to bed. So your body is not able to reach for that complete relaxation, for those deepest brain waves in which your most important recovery happens. So if you're seeing this kind of problems, then you may want to use certain supplements or ensure that the light is optimized in the bedroom. Light is the most important thing controlling our circadian rhythm and sleep. And melatonin, the sleep hormone, starts emitting when the pineal gland signals or receives darkness. So if you just dim the lights in the apartment few hours before bed, that should make a huge impact on your sleep. Also, you want to avoid blue light with blue light blocking glasses or different kind of filters. For example, in our apartment, what we do is we don't keep lights on usually after 8 p.m. Now it's summer, we don't have to. The sunlight is, still up. The sun is still up when we go to bed. But the sun still at the evening time, it doesn't emit same kind of light that your light bulb in your apartment emits. It emits mostly the red wavelength light, which is gonna signal your pineal gland that it's time to start producing that melatonin. And when you understand the sleep system, there's actually a great book from Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. It tells all about sleep and all about what your brain does during the sleep and why is it so important and how you can optimize it. So I would recommend to look into that if you are suffering from sleep problems or you're interested in this sleep topic. But once you understand what your circadian system needs for your sleep, I believe most people can achieve optimal sleep. So sometimes we start tracking we get stressed that I'm not getting this REM sleep, but we are not working on changing it necessarily, but we're just like stressed about the data. So your sleep rhythm, your sleep structure will change when you start waking up and getting sunlight first thing into your eyes. That initiates the circadian rhythm. The next thing to do is exercise. Like just 1 hour of exercise per day was in one study shown to reduce the sleep onset latency. In was it like 10 minutes? I might remember the data wrong, but like for several minutes. And it also increased the sleep quality and sleep depth. And it was dose dependent. If you got more exercise, the better sleep you got and the sooner you fell asleep. The issue is now these days mostly the light and the stress in the evening. So if you can fix those two aspects, I think you're going to make great improvements to the sleep.
Absolutely. Love that. Like having the right circadian rhythm, and like as soon as we wake up, seeing the sunlight early in the morning and dimming up the lights in the evening after like 8 or 9 p.m. so that you automatically tend to sleep. And my next question, Inka, is like basically what are the foods we need to eat which can help us to have that longevity mindset, and how do we incorporate like superfoods like blueberry because it has so many benefits and everything. Now, but it is little expensive, right? What are the foods what Indians can eat?
Okay, so for health, you want to prioritize. So it depends on your health a lot. But let's say the majority of the data, the totality of the evidence seems to suggest that Mediterranean type diets are the most beneficial for longevity and health. Now, there are some groups that this may not apply. So, if you have autoimmunity or if you have severe allergies or food restrictions, then of course you don't want to get that inflammation from the food. But if you are generally healthy and can eat almost anything, then sticking into a Mediterranean type lowish carb diet seems to be a very beneficial way to manage your health. So this would mean, for example, the blueberries are great, but in unison, no food is gonna fix your health. So it needs to be a pattern that includes the emphasis on nutrient dense, real foods that are not artificial or processed. Um, the idea is to get into back what our genes and our genetic composition is meant to be consuming and absorbing. So, first of all, processed foods are very low nutrient. They don't really provide anything to our body except calories. But we cannot utilize those calories effectively either because a lot of the food is not necessarily absorbed or it does cause more stress to the body, which then makes our energy demands higher. So it kind of defeats the purpose of getting those calories. Um, so that's the first thing, to avoid artificial high sugar foods that especially that have things like trans fats, because our body just generally don't know how to utilize those well. So now then what we should include instead is, as the studies seems to suggest, are vegetables, nuts, seeds, um, plant-based proteins are good, like lentils and beans, if you can tolerate those, if you can eat those. Vegetables like broccoli. Broccoli has sulforaphane, a lot of antioxidant-rich compounds. Spices have a lot of antioxidant and anti-aging compounds. So, for example, parsley has apigenin, which has shown to be beneficial for NAD level. And NAD is called the longevity miracle molecule just because it has such an important role for the energy production and recovery of cells. So I really like spices. One thing you can get, I think, great quality in India is curcumin. And curcumin supplement has shown to be antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It has a lot of beneficial effects on brain health, for example. So it has shown to be binding into or clearing out the beta amyloid from the brain, which is a toxic compound that contributes to brain aging. So I really like curcumin. It's also good for joint health. So it has been shown to reduce the pain, for example, in arthritis. Besides spices and vegetables, I would say lean protein sources. So fish, fatty fish like salmon is amazing source of omega-3 fatty acids, but just like any type of fish seems to be a crucial component of this kind of longevity type diet pattern. But you can also eat chicken and lean beef, for example, can be a good way to manage. But I think the most important thing comes from like understanding what foods are causing you health and what foods are causing you damage. And we know by hundreds and hundreds of studies that, for example, high amounts of sugars are not contributing to our health. And processed seed oils or processed trans fats are not contributing to our health. Instead, you can use olive oil, which is shown to be anti-aging. It's a key part. It's the main oil that they use in the Mediterranean type diet. So 2 teaspoons per day can have longevity benefits, as well as, let's say, eggs contain the egg yolk contain choline that has shown to have brain aging counteracting effects. So it can improve cognition to eating few eggs per week.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love that. And basically, when people are going outside, like traveling and everything, then they have to eat like outside food. And if you see, especially in India, there is like lot of palm oil, everything at the roadside,
Mm.
right? How can someone avoid it? Because there is no other go. You have to eat it, right? Like if you want to live, what should they do? Should they bring cooked food from the house, or like what do you recommend during those situations?
This is such a common issue that I know I also think a lot because we travel a lot with Seam, and every time we need to think like, okay, where can we get good food? One thing is I would not stress if it's every now and then, like I would not stress too much about it, just so that you don't cause yourself like this panic that I cannot get the good food. But I would always go the least. If you have only harmful options, I would always go for the least harmful option. So if you have foods that, you have a salad on the menu, then go for that. If you have, chicken breast with vegetables, go for that. And I am picky with when I get the food, the dish in my plate. I will not eat certain parts of the food. I will eat other parts of the food. So not thinking that you have to, touch on every part of the food that you are getting. You can always ask. This is what I do a lot, and they do it, but I notice many people don't do that. I do it and unapologetically because I know that if I eat something harmful, I may get like I'm so sensitive to different foods. I will just prioritize my health in this case. So I will just ask like, hey, can you substitute the potatoes for a salad? Or if it's like chicken with veggies with the rice, I may just ask like, hey, can you leave out the rice and can you just put more vegetables? And I don't remember, I cannot even recall a time when I was said, no, we can't. That's impossible. So they usually do if you just ask. I also carry my own foods with me when I know, for example, in flights, I usually take something healthy. It's not necessarily warm, but at least it's something that I know my body loves and that's gonna be helping me with the travel distress and not causing more distress. So it does require a little bit of tricks, but carrying your own food with you, I think It's one of the easiest ways to counteract this issue.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you see, like, India is right now the diabetics capital of the world, right? And even the heart attack, almost 27% people die because of like heart attack, all these things. Now, rice, everybody in India loves rice, right? What's your advice on it? Because 80% we eat rice and only 20% maybe the vegetables or like all these things. What is the right quantity? Should we eat more rice or not?
So I would say here is probably not, a general scientific answer that you can say in terms of rice, except that it's probably the portion control is the main thing. So what you want to do is you want to control your blood sugar. You don't want to cause insulin spikes. You don't want to cause elevated chronic blood sugar levels. And rice does, cause insulin to raise. It does elevate blood sugar, especially if you eat high amounts of it. Um, I would prioritize carbs in the evening. So during the day, to if it's possible to just leave the rice out and go for vegetables instead. And in the evening, when you want to get more serotonin and you want to get fatigued and you want to get sleepy, then you could eat the rice. The easiest way to control blood sugar if you are eating the rice is the eating order. So you can start with the vegetables, you get the enzymes that will help you to digest your food. Then you eat the protein, and then you eat the rice. So when you do this eating order, it can have a significant impact on the blood sugar response of the food. There are also some other things you can do to control blood sugar response when you eat high carb foods like rice. For example, berberine supplement has shown to like mimic the effects of metformin. So basically, it will help you to control blood sugar levels. Apple cider vinegar, for those who can take it, taken before the food with a half glass of water or a glass of water, pure apple cider vinegar, will help to control the blood sugar response. And then the final thing is to just do movement before and or after the food. Just 4 minutes of muscle hold. So you could do a plank, you could do a squat for 4 minutes before meal. That has shown to reduce the blood sugar spike after meal by up to 50%. This is huge. And walking 15 minutes after a meal has the same effect. That is huge. So if rice is something that you absolutely want to eat, then using these other tools to counteracting its negative effects. But just thinking like, is it necessary to eat that much rice every day? And what could I eat instead? So protein is generally very satiating food and increasing. You don't need a lot of extra protein to actually feel great. I think most people who are overeating carbs are also undereating protein. And undereating protein and having more lower muscle mass. So let's say if you start focusing on your muscle health and your protein intake, I think you will very soon start noticing that you are not that hungry for the rice anymore.
Correct, correct. I like that. Like focusing more on the protein and then of other things like carbohydrates, carbs, and everything. And love that. And next, it's food, right? Like what food can we improve for gut lining, intestinal epi- epithelium, and clearly affect infection? Like what are the things we need to basically do?
Mm. For gut health, it's good to have anti-inflammatory food. So one thing that can easily disrupt gut microbiome or the gut intestinal surface, the epithelium, and cause leaky gut is just inflammation. So knowing your food sensitivities. Many people do actually have food sensitivities these days. And if you cause that inflammation, that reactivity, then that starts harming the gut epithelium and causing leaky gut. Um, so that's one thing, eliminating those foods from the diet. The second thing is that probiotics and prebiotics will help the epithelium health and the gut health in general. And you can get this from foods. So, for example, probiotic, prebiotic foods are things like fermented foods, sauerkraut, anything fermented can help in small amounts. Um, some people are sensitive to fermented foods, then that might not be suitable. But most people who are not sensitive will most likely benefit from those, as well as having the intake of fiber. So, having enough fiber. And eating probiotic and prebiotic supplement can help in some cases where there is like severe gut dysbiosis. There are also a few supplements. So L-glutamine is one of the main supplements and compounds that have shown to restore the gut epithelial lining. So L-glutamine every day from like 5 to 10 grams. And recently I ran into a few studies that show that combining L-glutamine and L-theanine are actually going to work better for improving gut inflammation or lowering gut inflammation than L-glutamine alone. So using that combo of L-glutamine, L-theanine can make a big impact. Now, there is a certain group of people, let's say autoimmunity. I'm not sure about the rates in India of autoimmunity, but some people get very irritated, like gut irritation, if they eat lentils, beans, or anything with plant toxins. So it's like plant toxins are in plants, they are their defense mechanism. So now for some sensitized individuals, they can be very harmful. In some cases, elimination diet might be a way to restore the gut balance. So that would mean eliminating most of the foods from the diet and focusing on either some sort of autoimmune protocol or then focusing on pure elimination diet, like a carnivore approach or something like that. But those are usually more for the clinical cases and they need to be done and executed, or it's good to do them with a nutritionist.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love that. And how do we exactly know which food not to eat, right? Like as we humans in the house, they're like family, there is mother, father, brother, sister, and everything, right? It's like as the great scientist hippopotamus or someone told, one man's food is another man's poison, right? Like how do we know which food my mother has to eat, which food my sister has to eat, what food is good for me?
Yeah, that's an excellent and very important question because there is no one size fits all when it comes to diet. It takes a lot of self testing, and your diet may change based on your health status and your life goals. If your goal is to build muscle, you need to ramp up your protein intake. And if your goal is to lose weight, you may want to focus more for the low carb dietary approach. So, what I would suggest is this: think about what is your goal at the moment with your health. If you're not sure what is, are you deficient in something or should you lose weight, then doing the testing and seeing, am I in the right BMI? Do I have visceral fat? Maybe doing a DEXA scan and 180 lab tests that Ivo Clinic offers, for example, or just basic lab panel will tell if you are deficient in vitamins. So that will give you a clue. Do I need to eat more of certain things? DEXA is
Yes.
nice because you can see if you have sarcopenia, and if you have sarcopenia, you probably need to eat more protein. If you have bone mass density loss, you probably need to eat more calcium. Now, if you don't have time, money, or interest to do any testing whatsoever, then you can analyze your body also at home. Just mirror test. Do I have visceral fat? If I do have, I need to choose an approach that helps me lose weight. I need to be on a calorie deficiency, and how to do that with maintaining enough nutrients in my diet, how to do calorie deficiency without malnutrition. One of the most beneficial things for this is intermittent fasting, because that will naturally include some sort of calorie restriction. So just eating 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day, and keeping that 12-hour digestive rest, for example.
Absolutely.
And then just focusing on, it's so easy actually to lose weight when you cut down carbs, when you just cut down sugars and desserts and these kind of things. It doesn't mean that you cannot enjoy any good food, but you can make your desserts to be more heart healthy and more weight healthy, like yogurt with berries with some honey or things like this, to make it easier. So the goal, so I will give you an example. When I was in the Ivo clinic last year, my body weight is good, normal weight, no issues. I have good energy levels and good strength. But I noticed from my DEXA scan, and I didn't know this, that I almost have sarcopenia. Like I have low muscle mass. I was strong at the gym, but my muscle health wasn't optimized. So I knew that I need to increase my protein intake. My goal was not a weight loss, so I didn't try any calorie deficiency or anything like that. My goal was to just get my muscle synthesis up. So I ramped up my protein from 60 grams of day to about 70, 80 grams of day. Sometimes I ate even more. And I noticed that in the new DEXA scan, I had gained muscle and I had lost visceral fat. And I had
Wow.
lost a little bit of weight, but because I had more muscle weighs a bit more than fat. My body composition, generally, my body looks the same, but now I know that internally my body is healthier.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. It's like all about like understanding what's happening in our body. The same last month, even I did the DEXA scan at the Evo clinic. They told like your fat is little more and you have to start building your muscle mass, go to gym and everything. Right.
Mm.
And it's so important. And
So you need to eat more protein as well.
correct, correct. And you also recommend people to take that AVO 180 test, right? So that people can know what's happening in the body, what is the good food, what is the vitamin, minerals they have to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the next question is like right now, many people like the teeth plague, right? Affecting the microbiome in the mouth. Maybe even though they are brushing and everything, there is like so many teeth plague or like there is dirt, food particles sitting on each teeth. How do you recommend? How can we remove those things?
Right. Well, dental cleaning is something that you can do at the clinic, like in every 6 months or so. That's one of the probably most efficient ways to maintain your teeth. Um, Besides that, I think just keeping the dental hygiene. So flossing every day, using uh, plaque removing toothpaste. I use this kind of natural toothpaste that has like papaya enzymes and coconut, and that has been very good for the oral health. There is one interesting device as well. It's called Lumoral here in Europe that uses blue light that removes the plaque, but that's of course not. I don't know if it's available there, and I don't have that yet. I might get it, but I don't have this problem so much. Just regular dental cleaning in the clinic, I think, is effective.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so important to brush the teeth also like 2 times a day, right? Like morning once and night once, and doing the plague and right.
Mm.
And one of the most important things what I see even Shiva Shankaran sir also was telling, Indians suffer a lot with the brain fog, right? What is like you recommend? How should we go about, and what exactly is this brain fog?
Okay, so brain fog is defined as a symptoms of cognitive mild cognitive impairment. It's not like the clinical mild cognitive impairment. It's more about inattention, a little bit of problems with working memory, problems with energy levels, so fatigue, fluctuations. And I think everyone who has suffered from this brain fog will know how it feels. It just feels like you have a foggy mind. And it's actually very distressing state to be in. It's not nice. You cannot focus on your work. It's going to drain your energy, and it is a real issue. After COVID-19, it was shown that the brain fog significantly increased up to 85%, if I'm not mistaken, of those who were suffering from COVID has now reported some level of brain fog, or at least reported after the COVID exposure. So what this suggests to us, as well as the studies in dysbiosis and brain fog, as well as the studies in mental health illness and brain fog, is that brain fog is usually related to some level of inflammation in the brain. This is called neuroinflammation, which means that there is some level of unoptimized brain health. Technically, it might be related to excessive glutamate signaling in the brain, which causes so-called excitotoxicity. So anyway, the point is that there seems to be brain inflammation. So how can we start counteracting brain inflammation? So firstly, the same things that are good for your heart health are good for your brain, and the same things that are good for your metabolism are good for your brain, because brain is highly actively metabolic organ. Brain requires most of your resting state energy metabolism. So now if you have diabetes, or you eat high amounts of sugar, or your metabolism is not optimized, your brain will probably be deficient in blood flow, or your brain will have less capacity of producing the energy that you need to counteract that brain inflammation. There are a few ways to optimize the metabolism in the brain. So one is focusing on aerobic exercise and full body movement. This will increase the blood flow to the brain, especially to this huge area behind the forehead, which is called the prefrontal cortex. And by supporting the activity and blood flow in that area, you will help, you will be like tapping in such big area of your brain that the metabolism in the brain increases. The second way is to control your blood sugar, and because this is connected to your brain metabolism. And the third way is to reducing stress and any other toxin exposure. And we are going again back to the basics here: sleep, healthy diet, and exercise. If you can master those three pillars, sleep, healthy diet, and exercise, you will be winning in so many areas of health. So one trick or one additional tool that you can use for brain health is actually the harnessing the power of ketones. Ketones are molecules that are these like a fat particles, or particles, molecules derived from body fat. So your body converts fat into ketones, which have been shown to have brain health effects. So they can counteract brain inflammation, neural inflammation. They can improve cognition and attention and memory. Your body is using more ketones when your glucose stores in your body deplete. So let's say if you are a little bit of low carb, or you have done fasting is an excellent way to do this, or if you have done high intensity exercise or prolonged exercise, when your glucose stores are depleted, your body starts utilizing your body fat and turning them in the form of ketones, which can then travel the brain because they cross the blood-brain barrier, and they can provide your brain immediate source of energy. It's a little bit more energy efficient way to get energy levels high than utilizing glucose, because there are less steps involved and there is less harmful byproducts for the brain. And now ketogenic diet is probably the best way to increasing ketones, but for most people this is not obtainable or even necessary in some cases, just for the sake of ketones. So what you can do instead of ketogenic diet is MCT oil. This is oil derived from palm tree or coconut. And it's this clear liquid oil that is the source of ketones for your bodies. Just 1 tablespoon of MCT oils causes a nice increase, nice elevation in your ketone levels. And I tested for myself with the Keto Mojo, the Keto Index, this device that measures ketones. So in the morning, I measured my blood glucose and my ketones. Then I had 1 tablespoon of MCT oil, and in 1 hour, I measured it again, and I had 0.5 millimole increase in my ketones. That's what you would achieve in a like short-term ketogenic diet, um, as your morning blood ketones. So that's huge. So that's very effective way of supporting brain ketones if you don't want to do ketogenic low carb diet. But ketogenic low carb diet has so many other benefits for your brain as well, because it helps your body with this metabolic flexibility. So you have the capability, the more flexible capability for using ketones in your everyday lives. And you may not necessarily get that hungry that often. You will have better mental clarity. You will have just better focus, attention, mood. This is what most of the research suggests, that at least periods of ketogenic diet and or intermittent fasting will benefit the metabolism both in the body and in the brain. It's also, ketones have also shown to, or they elevate the NAD levels as well, because when glucose is converted into energy, it utilizes NAD, but utilizing ketones help to elevate the NAD levels. So that's also an anti-aging thing. And then
Absolutely.
focusing on these brain healthy foods like omega-3 fatty acids are absolutely crucial for brain health. They are a component of brain cell. So 1 to 2 grams a day of omega-3 fatty acids will probably make a big impact, and they also lower the neural inflammation.
Absolutely love that. Love that. It's like we just have to take care of it. Anything what is more, what can be measured, can be always like improved, like that. And the next question, Inka, is like a lot of people have some kind of addiction, right? For something or the other thing. How can we reduce the dopamine and like stop addiction? Do you recommend any meditation practice, breathing practices?
Yeah, so a big question. There are Addiction is actually one of the main reasons of reduced lifespan in a mental health disorder category. That's the main way why lifespan is reduced and health span is reduced. So that's definitely a big thing for us as a society to optimize and improve programs that can help people to overcome addictions. So there are more harmful and less harmful addictions. Harmful addictions like tobacco, alcohol, sugar, of course, like drugs and things like that. And the addiction system is just more sensitive in some individuals. So being mindful of, do you have that addiction potential? Um, the best way to actually stop addiction is abstinence, and I think it's kind of bad advice, because to say someone like just stop what you're doing, that's the hardest part, right?
They will not listen
So
to us if you directly tell them, right?
yeah, and their brain are wired to desire that stuff, and it will feel painful or deprived if you don't get that thing. So you will feel worse before you feel better if you start so-called dopamine detox or abstinence. But of course, abstinence is the way to get over addictions. It's just the withdrawal symptoms from almost any addiction, whether it's food or tobacco or coffee or alcohol, they can be quite heavy. It's gonna feel bad for the first few weeks, but then your dopamine receptors starts replenishing, and the dopamine system starts finding its new baseline, and then it starts getting easier and easier. So that would be one thing. So how can we support dopamine if we want to eliminate something from our lives? I think this is the key component that many people are not informed about. So if you are stopping one addiction, you will have a dip in your dopamine levels, and you need to support your dopamine levels to be able to maintain that abstinence and get rid of that urge to do the thing that you're addicted to. So utilizing an alternative way to raise your dopamine levels. Dr. Anna Lemke, a leading Stanford psychiatrist, has an excellent book on this called Dopamine Nation. And in that book, she explains exactly what to do to stop addiction, mainly 30-day of dopamine detox. So this is a little bit maybe misleading in name because you're not actually detoxing your dopamine, you're just stopping engaging with the thing that you're addicted to. But then you also support your dopamine levels. And we have a few ways that we can use. So one is cold showers. This sounds odd, but cold exposure has shown through the skin thermoreceptors affect our dopamine levels. And instead of causing this kind of high spike in dopamine and a rapid slope in dopamine that is linked to addiction, cold showers and cold exposure can cause this steady elevation of dopamine up to many, many hours. Okay, so you need to keep your dopamine levels high to avoid relapsing. So that's one way. Then we have exercise, especially high intensity exercise, has shown to replenish the D2 receptors in the prefrontal cortex that are very important for dopamine signaling and abstinence from any addictions. Protein, if it's a food addiction, just high protein foods are good for that because they have precursors for all the important neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin and acetylcholine. This will all help with rewiring the brain and keeping the brain signaling balanced. Then we have exercise, cold shower, music increases the levels of dopamine. And yeah, stress management. I love meditation, but it's not the easiest way for most people. But meditation practices are generally good for almost all aspects of your health, especially stress management and detaching. So in terms of addiction, it can be helpful from not being engaged in a thought that is disturbing you. So example, coffee. Have that cup of coffee, have that cup of coffee, and then you can detach from the thought with meditation. But I would
Absolutely.
say it's easier. I would say it's easier to use these sort of behavioral tools, and then cognitive behavioral therapy and programs can be also effective.
Absolutely. Love that. It's all about reducing everything, right? Not taking drugs, alcohol, tobacco, coffee, tea. These are all like not good for the body and focusing on like long-term things, right? Which is going to help us out. I love that.
Well,
And
in terms of like coffee and tea, I don't think they are the most harmful things actually. Some people just get coffee addiction and then they don't like that they are addicted to coffee, but actually coffee has shown to have a lot of polyphenols. It's linked to increased lifespan rather than decreased lifespan.
oh my God.
Tea as
I'm
well have a
doing
lot of catechins, especially green tea is very healthy to drink.
know that. And my another question is like I've seen like lot of saints and like spiritual people semen retention, right? They tell you should not masturbate, or like some people tell it's good to do. What's your thoughts on it for like longevity?
So this is something that I haven't looked into that much, so I wouldn't be able to give much advice on this one. But again, like things like porn addiction or something like this has shown to be harmful for our reward system in the brain. So everything like this that can be addictive for you in that sense, um, to like reduce that would be definitely a healthy thing for the brain.
Absolutely. Love that. And what books like you will recommend everyone to read, right? Like so that they can live long in biohacking longevity space.
I love this question because, of course, my husband has just released his book on longevity, and hands down, I'm biased, but I feel like that is the best book of longevity that I've read because it goes literally through all of the stages or all of the pillars of longevity. It has all of the mechanisms, so you will understand like how does things like mTOR and sirtuins and all of these words that you hear that are like how is this actually related to longevity is reviewed in the book. So I would start with that. It's called Longevity Leap by Siim Land. Of course, there is other longevity books as well out there. Peter Attia has the Lifespan book, which is good. For me, as my interest is like a lot in the brain health and mental health, I actually really enjoy Christopher Palmer's Brain Energy, which is about how mitochondria contributes to our brain health. So I would look into that one. Um, then I would say generally like what is I would go like maybe area by area. So we know that we need to improve metabolism, or maybe someone needs to lose weight, maybe someone needs to improve their skin. So I would just find a book within that category. So for example, recently I read The Salt Fix by Dr. James DiNicolantonio, which I thought was like such an essential reading to understand the salt balance in the body, which is extremely important for optimal cellular health and longevity. I really liked The Younger You by Cara Fitzgerald, which is also about like epigenetics and methylation and longevity.
Absolutely amazing. And I highly recommend everyone to grab those books. And Simlan's book, I believe next month it is being launched, right? Inka?
Yeah. So now it's already up for delivery, and those who have pre-ordered will get it quite soon. I think in 1 month. And yeah,
It will
so
be
it's out
available
there
on
now.
Amazon as well, right?
Yes. And actually, I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure, but at least from his webpage, you can order the book right
Oh,
now. It has gotten such good feedback from like longevity doctors that we've discussed with. It's
absolutely.
it's like a big manual. It's like this almost one-on-one handbook for longevity.
Right. And guys, I'll be even posting that link in the description. Go and check out that book. It's one of the greatest books because the more you learn, the more you grow. Being curious is like the most important thing. That's how you can save like decades of years of experience, learn from people who have already spent so much of time. A book can hardly be like $10, $20, and you don't need to spend millions of dollars learning about what is longevity, everything, right? And go and implement it. And Inka, tell us about your trip in India, right? I believe like you are coming, I mean, in 2025, right, to India for the longevity 7 days at the Neela Palace in Chennai, right? What are its benefits and like what is it all about? I see like even Sim was bringing his friends all the way from like US, Europe, and everything, right? Because some people are interested, but they are like, should I actually come, and who are the people who should come to that event?
Yeah, so the retreat, the health occasion, and we will also have a beautification program now in Lila Palace is for understanding. So everything that we've discussed today is covered in the program. So we will optimize, we will measure all the labs biomarkers. We've been there with Seam twice now. Seam has been 3 times. And what happens every time we take full lab tests, we take DEXA, there is option to take full body MRI, quantify all organs, CT scan, brain analysis, psychological consultation, posture analysis, skin AI analysis. There are plenty of advanced testing. You can pretty much quantify your full body. And I love it because that's when you know exactly what to focus on. And as we discussed about the diet, for example, what should I eat? Well, I got my labs and I got my DEXA, and then I connected points, and I'm like, okay, I need to increase my protein and my muscle mass and correct these nutritional deficiencies. And when I did that, I'm feeling so much healthier already. You will also get a biological age testing if you're interested, genetic testing. Um, there is dental scaling and cleaning. So these were the testing and eye testing as well. I did that last time. That was very good. I'm so happy for the results of that one. And then you get personalized testing based on your symptoms. So if you have anything that you personally want to check, maybe women want to check their hormones, or maybe someone needs to do some gut screening or anything like that, you will get that. Okay, based on this, you will meet doctors, and the doctors will tell you what the labs mean and what you should start doing to optimize your health and longevity. And you will get to do treatments. So there is intravenous vitamins, there is posture correction thing. Posture is actually a big issue these days because many people are slouching because of phones, and it will start putting like a strain to our backs. So the posture correction was one of the, I think, the greatest things that I did there, because I had that little tilt forward. You will get skin treatments. You will get supplements. There is amazing food. There is just so much to do and so much health to learn. All of the guests that we brought, they were so super happy about it. And we were so happy about having them there, because it's not only about you doing tests and being there on your own, but you have a group of people who are all into health, well-being, and longevity. And all of the meals that we had together, we were just sharing insights, information. You hear tips that you never necessarily hear from anywhere else. Like we had Alexis Ortega, who is a doctor specialized to regenerative medicine, who was one of the guests at the retreat. So he was also sharing his insights. So you will get these high-minded guests there who have their own secrets as well to share. And there are, of course, seminars from Inka Land, from Joe, from myself, that we will give the information and consultations as well to help you. So I would say anyone who is interested in extending their lifespan and getting it all done, like all relevant measuring is done, and just getting into the habits that will benefit your body the most, the retreat will be good for those people. So I would say this kind of package that is offered by Ivo in Chennai, India, because India is quite a cheap country to do these things with compared to, for example, Europe or US. The price is like probably 5 times cheaper in India. So with the price that you are going to India and getting hotel and getting foods, getting all the tests, all the treatments, and hanging out with these people, getting spa services, massages, reflexology, gym, everything, personalized coaches, you would probably get like a full body MRI with that money in the United States. So it's an insane value.
Right. And it's like anyone who is at least making $100,000, right? They can easily afford 5-6% of it, right? Um, it's like they also have to be having that mindset and like ready to invest the time and money.
Yeah, I mean the value that you get from it also is not just what happens there, but you go home and you will have now a personalized plan for pretty much everything that you want to optimize. So it takes immense amount of time to do this, all of the individual tests at your home country. And before Chennai, India, I was doing my biohacking longevity health things this way. So I was spending so many hours of searching what test to take, where can I order this test, do I need a prescription, like where can I find a good qualified professional that understands not only disease care but also longevity and proactive healthcare, who understands functional medicine, root cause healing, all of these things that make the biggest impact on longevity and health. So it's just immensely time consuming and can be quite confusing if you do everything independently on your own, especially if you don't have medical education. So I had the benefit of course, my background in this field. So for me, it was way easier than I would say for an average person to kind of read about this and find out about everything that I need to do. But still, just not everything is available here where we are in Estonia. So I had to sometimes go to another country to do a test, which is very frustrating. So you can get
Yes,
it all
absolutely.
in India.
Right.
And we
And
will
that's
have
what,
now we will have like um, if I can mention this, we have like a beautification coming as well. So one
okay.
thing that I realized and identified is that female need targeted programs as well because we have hormone fluctuations when women age. There are things like perimenopause and menopause, and these will cause changes in our hair, in our skin, in our hormones, in our mood and mental balance. So this beautification is a new program that's targeted for women. It does have all the body quantification, but we will also do like cervical screening and breast cancer screening and everything relevant for women. But then we will have another aspect of that, which is aesthetic beauty as well. So we will do natural, high quality, advanced treatments for the face, for example, for skin aging, for um, IPL lasers, radio frequency, exfoliations, for regenerating the collagen tissue in the skin. There will be body sculpting, PRP for the hair and scalp, and things like that. So we can start optimizing the inner and outer beauty. It also focuses on emotional health and well-being. So yoga, meditation, breath work, all of that that we need to have like our internal balance before we can start optimizing the external balance, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. And that's what, guys, I highly recommend everyone, my friends, entrepreneurs, coaches, doctors, everyone. If you want to take your health to the next level, do come to the Evo Clinic, learn from Inka Land, Simland, Shiva Shankaran sir, and other top experts. And the best part is even the network also is going to be like really good, right? Imagine 15 to 30 people sitting for the next 7 days with you, thinking about how we can live long, what food to eat, and everything. You tend to learn from your peer group also, right? And it's one of the best. And I got an opportunity to check out a day workshop last month in like Chennai. It was really incredible, and do check it out. I'll be posting that link in the description as well, right? And Inka, it was so amazing talking with you since almost like last 1 hour, like 1 hour, 30 minutes. How can people connect with you and if they want to learn more exactly about biohacking, everything?
Well, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. I'm always happy to talk about these things. And if you want to learn more from me, I have a YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/at I am Inka Land. And then I have my Instagram, which is at I am Inka Land. And my webpage is inkaland.co. I do have a free supplement guide if you're interested in learning about supplements for brain health and longevity and mental well-being, and that will be inkaland.co/supplement dash guide. Or if you can't find it, you can just DM me the word guide and I will send it to you.
Absolutely amazing. And also do check out her YouTube channel. Also, recently, I believe like you reached 9,000 subscribers. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And you guys can also subscribe to her channel so that like you're able to learn absolutely the cutting edge knowledge and everything, right? And Inka, like before like we conclude, any last words you want to tell to everyone who is watching from India at the Real Knowledge Club Longevity Summit?
Well, I want to say that I love India, first of all. Now, having been there 3 times, it's just wonderful people. It's such an amazing culture. It's I'm always looking forward to coming back. So I just want to like thank everyone for like having such a nice country and culture there. And then maybe one thing that I want to share that I think that putting time and interest in health is one of the biggest investments you can do for your future because it will give you time. It will give you more time, and time is the only thing we have in this world. So, yeah, just hope to see you in India.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Inka, for sharing your incredible wisdom with all of us. And also, another question, the last one is like, if you are coming to India in 2025, right? Will you be ready to come to like Bangalore also if I organize a event or like if you're speaking at a university delivering your talk?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm super excited to keep you updated and also let me know everyone what you think. Should we bring um, Inka to like Bangalore also so that you guys are able to learn a lot of things. And with that being said, do let us know like what's your three biggest takeaway guys in the chat and do share it with your friend. That's how we can make a world a better place to live. That's how we can share the biohacking, the longevity mindset, what it takes to live long. You can send it to your friend, brother, sister, like your colleague, your team member. That's how we can educate more Indians and make a world a better place to live. Right. And thank you, Inka, once again for taking your valuable time. See you soon. Meet you again at Chennai. Yep.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.